or its geography than they are with solving our crisis. So what we need to do is make sure that we're holding our electeds' feet to the fire and making sure they're working across party lines. Locally, I am proud that I helped bring together Democrat Mark Lesko and Republican Kathy Walsh, the supervisor of Brookhaven and the deputy supervisor of Brookhaven. I was sick of my hometown being rife with partisanship and outright corruption just a few years ago, but I saw an opportunity to work across party lines and bring two great elected officials together to get that government working again. That's what I want to do at the state level. That's what I've been trying to do at the state level. Obviously, Albany's a lot bigger than Brookhaven town, but I have a track record to do it.
Okay, Mr. Squadro, a minute and a half as well. What do you see as the problem with this?
Well, as the minority leader for the Suffolk County Legislature, by definition, I work across party lines. I try not to be terribly partisan, but Albany is clearly a dysfunctional model. As far as solutions go, we have to band together. Self-preservation is a quality that we possess as suburban elected representatives. I'm going to work with those across the state, regardless of party affiliation, to break the stranglehold that New York City has on us. We need a tax and a spending cap. One won't do without the other. If you just cap taxes, the state will continue to go into deficit spending as they have. We need pension reform. It is an issue that unfortunately this government, this Democratic majority has been unwilling to take on. We absolutely have to address the fact that we have an unsustainable pension model, and if we don't address it now, it is not only going to impact us as taxpayers, it's going to impact the integrity of our public workforce. These are just a couple of the issues. I know we don't have a lot of time. I'm sure we'll get into it more in depth, but it is imperative that we have representation that is willing to take on the establishment in Albany, and I'm willing to do that.
Just a quick follow sort of on that. We're going to take a minute each. No other candidates are partisan. You're not big partisan, so I'll throw this out there. The Democrats are to control the governor's mansion, the assembly, and the Senate, and Republicans have said, look at the mess they created. Why shouldn't your party, do you think, Mr. Losey, take most of the blame for what's going on up there?
Well, first of all, again, at every level of government, we have been hurting. And, the Democrats, for example, are in charge for a year and a half, 2 years. I think it's kind of ironic and unfortunate for one party to drive a car into the ditch, hand the keys off to the other party and say, I can't believe the condition of this car. So yes, I have a record of independence. I don't play the party line. I've bucked my leadership when I see a problem, whether it's school aid for Long Island. I've voted against school budgets because of that one issue. The MTA payroll tax, no matter what pressure they put on me, I have a record of independence. It's something that anybody can look up. I have one of the more independent voting records in the Assembly, so I have no problem bucking my leadership.
Mr. Squadro, 1 minute. Do Republicans get some of the blame for what's going on in Albany?
Well, I think if you talk about unprecedented economic times, why would we increase spending over 7% in this year? Yes, there were problems that existed before this, but when given the opportunity to correct some of those problems, what did this majority do that holds every level of government in Albany? More deficit spending, increased taxes, increased fees. This is not the right direction. They have been unwilling to take on issues. Welfare and Medicaid fraud, pension reform. I think this party absolutely has to accept responsibility for what they've done in Albany, and I think it is imperative that we restore a balance of power. Having all of the power in one party and in one geographic area in New York City is never good for the people in the outlying areas. We suffer, we need to change things.
Okay. So, for rebuttal, I am willing to cede the rest of my time here in the News 12 debate if my opponent would like to detail how he would have closed the $27 billion budget gap over the past 2 years, if he wants to take me up on it.
Well, coincidentally, my next question is the massive cuts that are needed. Everyone talks about we need to cut spending. $9 billion was the deficit the government should deal with, and some say next year could be worse. Give me some specific areas. Mr. Squadro, will start with you, a minute and a half to both of you, of where the state can cut spending.
Absolutely. Pension reform is an issue that this legislative body, this majority, has been unwilling to take on. It is is a critical issue. We must move to a Tier 6 this year. We must move to a defined contribution system. We have to honor our responsibility and our obligation to those who are already in the system. But if we do not move away from this unsustainable model, by the comptroller's own admission, by 2013, we're going to be at a 30% local contribution rate. We can't do it. We can't sustain it. That is an area where we absolutely have to move forward. As far as this majority and what they see important to bring forward, we didn't see an up or down vote come up on a property tax cap or a spending cap, but we've seen up or down votes come on social issues and social agenda items. This is following the model that Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid are using in Washington. Don't solve the actual problems, focus on implementation of a social agenda. It absolutely has to stop.
Okay, Mr. Leslie, minute and a half, spending cuts.
Well, for example, my opponent has been going after, pensioners and trying to privatize the pension system, like many of the people at the federal level are trying to privatize Social Security. I don't know if that's the way to go. There are ways that we can save in the pension fund while not taking away people's pensions. We have to go after the bad apples that are basically stealing from the pension fund. Whether they're doing, working part-time and getting full-time credit or whatever it is that they're doing, we need to make sure we crack down on those bad apples. But the average pensioner is making $16,000 a year. The average state worker is making $36,000 a year. We have to take a look at why the middle class has eroded over the past 15 years as goods and costs have gone up. Salaries have not gone up for the private sector. In 1980, the average corporate executive CEO salary or corporate executive salary to worker salary, the ratio was 11 to 1. Today, it's 400 to 1. I'm not okay with the average worker making 1/400th of what their manager makes. So I'm not okay with turning the middle class against the middle class right now. Now, in terms of cuts at the state level, I've advocated taking 22 state agencies and turning them into 9 state agencies. There is a lot of duplication at the state level. That's what I've been pushing for over the past year. That's what I will continue to push for. More efficiencies at the state level of government. Then we have to take a look at Medicaid. That's $60 billion for Medicaid, over $40 billion for education. The state budget, 80 to 90% of it.
There's your minute and a half, Mr. Leslie, I'm sorry. Midpoint of the break, the debate, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the debate with 1st Assembly District right here on News 12.
It was fun.
Yeah, rolling, so you're rolling, baby. We're gonna take a